Welcome back to Art Practice ASMR. This video is special because every Pokemon I draw in it was recommended by one of my subscribers. I asked on my social media for people to recommend Pokemon for me to draw, and so everything I'm drawing here is one of their responses. I'm definitely planning on doing this again, so if you want to participate next time, just follow me on my social media through the links in the description below. For this first one, I decided to use Pokémon as the prompt because it's a globally recognizable brand that has cute characters that people absolutely love. I think that even people who aren't as familiar with Pokemon can still recognize characters from it. I mean, even my mom recognizes Pikachu, and she has no clue what the show or games are about. And I think Pokemon is one of those franchises that are just synonymous with childhood and fun. I think everybody has fond memories about discovering and playing Pokemon. For me, I discovered the franchise when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I think, like most people, I discovered it first through the anime. I would watch Pokemon every Saturday morning on the Kids WB, and it was one of my favorite cartoons. But I had always watched the anime, but I didn't really know about the games. I mean, I knew they existed, but I had never played one. Until one of my older family friends gave me a hand-me-down copy of the game. It was Pokemon Yellow, and I absolutely loved playing that game. But I kind of ran into a problem while playing Pokemon Yellow, because the game was kind of rigged against the player, especially if you were a stupid little child like me. Pokemon Yellow tries to mirror the anime by giving you a Pikachu instead of one of the typical starter Pokemon. And as you know, Pikachu is an electric type, and who is the first gym leader in Pokemon? It's Brock, the rock type gym leader. If you're familiar with the games, electric types are weak against rock type, and rock type Pokemon are immune to electric type attacks. As a kid, I didn't really understand how all of this worked, so I kind of just kept running into Brock and losing every battle. And I remember doing this for what seemed like years, but it probably wasn't that long. I do remember one day, it was during a really long car ride. I was just playing Pokemon, and I happened to train a Pidgey that I caught so much that it evolved into Pidgeotto. And I thought, wow, this is the strongest Pokemon I have. Maybe I should use this to fight Brock instead of Pikachu. And I did that, and I won. And I know that child me was way too excited for doing that, because I had been playing that game for what felt like a long time. It probably wasn't that long though, but children's sense of time is way more distorted than adults. Anyway, after I beat Brock, the game felt so much easier, and I just kind of breezed through it. I don't know how many cities I made it to during that car ride, but I think I made it through a few. Pokémon must be the franchise that I've played the most games in, but also it's the franchise that I've missed the most installments in. As I said, the first game I played was Pokemon Yellow, but the second one in the franchise I played was Pokemon Pearl, which was in Generation 4. So I missed an entire console's worth of Pokemon games, and then some from a console I even had. I think sometime I'll end up playing those games, maybe when I have a ton spend on that stuff. But for now, all of the Pokemon games I've played are Yellow, Pearl, Soul Silver, and Black was the last one in the main series I've played. That being said, I have played a bunch of other games in the franchise. I've played 2 Pokemon Ranger games, 1 Mystery Dungeon. I've played Gale of Darkness on the GameCube, and there's probably something else that I'm forgetting, but I know I've played it. Maybe I'll remember what it is later on this video. Anyway, I have been thinking about jumping back into the franchise now that Sword and Shield are coming out. Though I don't even have a Nintendo Switch, so I can't really say anything for certain right now. Also, I have been seeing those analysis videos where people are saying that the game might be lazily made. Apparently in the gameplay trailers you can see assets just disappearing, or things being sloppily textured. Also, I've seen videos where people compare the most recent 3D Pokemon games to games that came out on the GameCube and Nintendo 64. And apparently, there's been a lot of lazy lack of animations for the characters in Pokemon. In the older games, characters would have their own, normal movements for cutscenes. And in the Pokemon battles, Pokemon would have their own unique animations for how they carried out attacks. But apparently in games like X and Y, Sun and Moon, and Pokemon Let's Go, I think, apparently they've kind of just have characters wiggle around or something, and the attack itself is the animation. There's effects animation instead of the Pokemon moving around to attack. I've seen these videos and they're way harder to explain than my brain wants me to do right now. That doesn't even make sense. But it did kind of look bad, and so when I eventually buy a Nintendo Switch and when the game actually comes out, I will consider buying it based on how it looks and what people are saying. So that was basically a very long and convoluted hypothetical maybe. Anyway, the main Pokemon games and the anime are pretty much the backbones of the franchise. But there are a lot of things from the franchise that I absolutely love that I don't see people praising too much. I remember when I was a little kid, on one of my weekly trips to the public library, I found in the children's comic section a copy of the Pokémon Adventures manga. I think it was a red cover with the main character red on the front. And I'm pretty sure it was a best of volume. I remember reading it and being like, wow, they make Pokemon comics, that's so cool. And by some chance, I happened to find it at a bookstore, and I begged my parents to buy it for me. And to this day, I have 2 volumes of the manga just sitting on my bookshelf that I even reread once in a while. It has a genuinely good story with genuinely good art. And I actually used the cover art of Pokemon Adventures as the picture that I used on Instagram in my story when I made this announcement. I actually used the cover art from a single issue that I happened to find at a garage sale. Actually, it was a sale taking place at a library. They were shutting down and they were getting rid of all these books. And I don't even think it was a sale. I think it was just, please take these books from us, we don't need them. And I walked away with a ton of Pokemon books. I was a child at the time. This wasn't something that happened recently. But a lot of the stuff I bought was stuff that I've never really seen before or again. I have a single issue of Pokemon Adventures with the character Yellow. I also have some novelizations of the Pokemon anime, and I even have the original Pokemon Handbook. Speaking of the Pokemon Handbook, when I bought Pokemon Pearl, I saw at the bookstore that they had an updated handbook for both the Pokemon in the region and the region itself, and so I bought them. And they're both sitting on my bookshelf with all my other Pokemon stuff. But I actually have a poster with all of the Sinnoh Pokemon taped to my wall. And I would have had a really, really cool poster that came with the Sinnoh Handbook of the region. It was a realistic map of the Sinnoh region, and I really wish I knew what happened to it, because I would have loved to have it hanging on my wall. But sadly, I have no clue where it is. It's either thrown away or destroyed in the garage. Anyway, trying to collect my train of thought. The Pokemon manga, yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's something that I genuinely still enjoy. But I also remember as a kid that I discovered another Pokemon manga, and I'm pretty sure it was the Western adaptation of the Electric Tale of Pikachu. I don't remember too much, but I think it was about Ash and Misty and Brock. And given that it was the Western release, it was heavily censored. Not that I would have complained about that as a child, because I wouldn't have even known about that stuff. Speaking of things that I still absolutely love, but I don't hear people talking about, is the Pokemon Origin anime. As you know, the regular Pokemon anime follows Ash, who's pretty much a made-up version of Red from the first game. But there is a different anime that actually follows the character Red from the games. It's all about Red and Blue and their adventure to become the best Pokemon master. And it was a genuinely good anime that came out a few years ago. I remember really enjoying it because it was way more of an adaptation of the games, and it felt very nostalgic to me. Apparently, they even did things like having small references to things like the white hand on Red's shoulder in Lavender Town, but I don't really remember seeing that in the show. There was one thing that kind of disappointed me about this show, was that at the end of the anime, Red goes to catch Mewtwo, but the Pokemon that he uses to catch him is not something you could have had in the original games. He mega evolves his Charizard into Charizard X or whatever. Remember, I haven't played those games. But Charizard just becomes really big, black and blue, and I was like, wow, I wish I had that when I was a kid. I feel like it's not something that's actually wrong about the anime. It's just something that I'm nitpicky and nostalgic about. But whatever. I do really recommend it, and I know that they made a sort of sequel, but not really sequel to it. Don't remember what that one's called, though. Anyway, I think this video is coming to an end, so I want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, and if you want to see more, then subscribe. If you want to participate in another audience event, then follow me on my social media through the links in the description, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone, and good night.